Okay, welcome back to another episode of the College Soccer Strong podcast. And today, if you haven't already, then just make sure you hit the link below to join the school group. And in that school group, you're going to get access to ask all of the guests we have on this podcast questions. And we have 5 questions at the end today asked by guests and members of the group. So if you haven't already, just click down below to join. And yeah, we'll get into today's episode. Today we have Anthony Denis, who I know from playing with at New Haven. But for those of you that don't know, then he's going to introduce himself to you now.
Well, first of all, thank you, Archie, for making me being here. I think what you do is amazing, and you help so many people, and you have such great advice. So, everybody hearing me, you can trust Archie. And to introduce myself, I'm just gonna go quick through soccer, and after I finish with college. But I played soccer in France my whole life, and I joined an academy when I was 14 years old until I was 18. I moved out of academy because I had a disagreement with the director, and I went to play semi-professional in France in fourth division. And I realized from that the level was just so high, and I was not really getting anything out of soccer except a paycheck. So I always wanted to move to the US since I was in academy, and an agency was reaching out to me, and I was good at school. So I made the move in 2022, right after COVID. Was not speaking English at all, nothing. I just moved. I ended up going to Manhattan College, which is a Manhattan University in the Bronx. Did 2 years over there. I ended up, I was not allowed to play in D1 anymore for eligibility, and I ended up in New Haven where I played with Archie and for my grad school. And I had the best season I ever had in college soccer, and I'm here to talk about it and hear about you.
Awesome. So you've obviously had a long career and lots of ups and downs throughout that. So we're going to go pretty much closer back to the start. And I want to talk about your time at AC Ajaccio, if I've said that right.
Mhm. No, you didn't, but it's all right. I
Ah,
will not
go
be
on.
able to
How
say
do I
anything.
say it?
It's AC Ajaccio, but it's a Corsican team. So yeah, tell me about it. What do you want to know?
Yeah. So you were one of the top prospects there. Then you left. What happened?
So when went to Ajaccio, I was so for us. I know in England it's different and US too, but you join as a U16, U17, U18. It's a 3 year pre-professional contract that I signed, and I was one of the few of my generation, and I was captain of my team. Ended up my last year as a U18 being captain of the U19, and I was playing with the second team, with the senior team. And at the end of the season, I was by myself, and I was the one with the most game in the under 19, the senior team, captain of people older than me, and the athletic director of the academy. At the end of the season, just proposed me a contract that I didn't think was right for me. I have no regret, but he was just moving on. He was joining another academy actually, so he didn't really care about renewing people. And me, I was by my own. I decided all my way. I had no help with no agent. My dad, my family, nobody had any idea what was going on. So I ended up just saying, "What you proposed me is not right." Even though I'm the best player of my generation right now, I'm just gonna go. And I was hoping to get team and reach out to teammate, but the soccer world just as me, like it's very hard to bounce back. And I think my position being a central back, I have no like exposition to the world. So I ended up just going back home and playing in under 19 national level, and from there I went to fourth division. So it was hard to get, but like a soccer career, there is up and down, and I'm very grateful I did that, because without that I would not be here today. I'm probably still chasing being a professional soccer player.
I know a lot of players in your situation would have just accepted that contract that was offered, regardless of how good they thought it was, about what they thought they deserved. I think for so many people, that opportunity to even have a contract would be too much to walk away from. How do you feel like you were able to walk away from that and almost like know your worth and know what you deserved in that situation?
Yeah, to be honest, when I got the offer, I know it was not my fault, and I'm proud I rejected it, because I knew my value, and I know, like, when as soon as something gets disrespectful and you play for a team, you just expect to get back at least what you give, and you give 100% for a team. And I just didn't think I was valued enough. So, and when you're in this small world, feeling valued in an academy, that's literally all this small little detail. And at the end, you're the one that is going to be called to be practicing with the pro, etc. And just made the calculation quick in my head. Like, if as right now they don't value me for an extra 400 euros, which what was a problem, I don't see how 2 years after this contract, I will get a professional contract. It was hard because after when you land home and you have nothing around you, you're literally playing with people that still goes to high school and you're not in a professional setting anymore. You regret it, but I will just look forward to something else all the time. And COVID happened, so everyone was down. And I know it was a bold move, but I maybe regret it when it was COVID. But at the end, I'm proud I was able to reject it because you have to know your value, just as you did. I know how you did when you had to leave the D1 college. So it is bold, but when you have to have good perspective on yourself and what you expect.
I think that's a great point as well because some people can look in on a situation and think that that is a dream situation. So, like the example that you mentioned there with Hofstra, for so many people looking in, it's, oh, you got a scholarship at a D1 university college, you have everything you could want there. But if the one thing that you don't want there, or that you wanted there, which for me was playing and I wasn't getting that game time, then it's a situation where you do have to walk away and try and find a different path and a different option to go down, even though it sounds like it's a dream situation. And I feel like maybe it's a similar situation for you there is, for so many people that contract is a dream. But for you, if you weren't feeling valued there, then it is something that you have to walk away from and find somewhere else to go.
Totally agree. And I don't know about you if you regretted it or after when you moved to Iowa, you know you are playing, but maybe the environment is not the same. You're always gonna have second thought, but when you take your decision, me I always go all in. And maybe it's because where I'm from, like I'm very like you take a decision and you just have to go all in with. And tell me, did you
Yeah,
have second thought when you landed in G2? And
yeah, I think so. I think it's always hard. I think we have this idea that you can go down a path and have no regrets. But in my opinion, I always feel like you have to choose your regrets because any path that you decide to go down, there's always a different path that you could have taken. So for me, I could have stayed on at Hofstra and hoped that my junior, my senior, my grad years that maybe I could have got into the team and played there. And of course, I've seen other goalkeepers in similar situations that have made that work for them. But I think that when you're in a moment and you're making a decision, you know that there's one decision that's the best thing for you. And at the end of the day, once you make a decision, you have to stick with it and you have to face those challenges. So, of course, you don't get no challenges. In my situation, it was a new challenge of now I've gone from a top D1 school to a bottom D2 school. How can I help this program and turn it around? And maybe for you, it's you've gone away from one challenge, which was finding your worth at that club. And now you're in a different challenge of how do you claw your way back into potentially a professional setting or start exploring other routes.
it was exactly that. And totally agree with you on how you pick something you have to go. And there is so many paths out there you can never know. Like, what if you have never left England, Archie? Like, what you will be, you never know. But
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
Mhm.
So when you left the club and you're looking for other contracts, were you surprised at how hard it was to get another opportunity elsewhere?
It was so hard, and I was dominating the level I was playing at, and also the timing was terrible because I was waiting on this contract to land, and the athletic director was waiting on him. So I literally like at midsummer, I had to take a decision. I thought I was gonna renew, and I had to just do a preseason with the team and trying to reach out to coach. And it was just like the soccer world is very small, and it's very hard to find doors that open for you, especially when you're by yourself. And I was just feeling alone, and it is very hard. And it's the same in being in Europe as in college. You can feel like you have so many doors being open in front of you at some time, but when the time you need things to come to you, there is nothing. And it is hard. And now I will be, if I have a children now and he's playing soccer, I will be able to know situation and understand things better. But when you're on your own, Just like when you try to find a college and things like that, it can be rough.
I think it's interesting what you mentioned there about if you were to have a son, then you'd be in a position to be able to guide them and almost pass on your knowledge that you've learned through your soccer career to help them. Do you feel like that's something that you had from family and from friends around you, or do you feel like you were on your own in terms of having to find your path in soccer?
I was on my own. Definitely, my dad and my mom, they had no clue that what was professional. I mean, around me, they haven't even have a high school diploma. And I will just start being this player that goes to academy, and I'm leaving my home at 15, and you make money on your own, which is like your whole total different lifestyle for them. And yeah, and it's why now just like you do, helping people, it's very important because if you have this extra knowledge about how to deal with situation, you can just land in way better spot. And it's nothing
Yeah.
bad. It's all about experience. Like I'm glad I experienced it. I haven't been pro. It's all right with me, but I would love to be able to help someone. And like you do, always try to reach out to people if they need help, and just a contact and an email or text that can change people's career and life.
Yeah, I asked because I also feel like it was a similar situation for me in the fact that I had an incredibly supportive family around me. But in terms of like knowledge of how to navigate a soccer career, they really didn't know or have any advice to give me of that. They had general life advice to pass on, but not a specific path through soccer. And like you say now, I feel like that's something for me within the coaching world that I know I focus purely on the physical side of the game, but there's also so much of the mentorship of helping pass on to the future generations. And like for your situation there, having someone to help you navigate that decision may have made it a much clearer path for you to follow.
Definitely. Some things I would like to add on is that when you're in any situation, nobody has more interest in your career than yourself. So you cannot wait after people to move things around for you. And I think when you're a young soccer player, you always think about, okay, I'm in this situation, I'm gonna find an agent, it's gonna find me a club, and I'm gonna find a club that's after gonna get me do step by step. But really, like people think about their own interest first, just as you should be doing. College coach, they're the first one to think about their own interest. But like putting yourself first out there, and it's maybe when you're young, just wanna trust people, hoping they want everyone to go pro. But reality is hard, and you have to try to find your path. And just like you said, it's hard to navigate all of that, and there is nobody around you that have been through it. You're part of the 1% of the 1% being in an academy, and it's hard, and it's good to pass knowledge, just like you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think it's a great point that you make about not relying on an agent or someone else to help you in that sense. Of course, there's a lot of value that young players can take from having an agent or having someone to guide them through that. But at the end of the day, I think that probably in your situation, you already know the best decision for yourself. Maybe having some guidance can help you look at it in a different way. But I often find that we know the best decision that we can make in a situation, and ultimately you just have to take it and deal with the opportunities and the challenges that come from that decision.
It is. It's you need a little bit of both, unfortunately, and when you're so young, if you cannot have experienced everything. And when you go in academy first, we are very lucky because when things happen later in your career, when I was 21, I was able to take a decision that made sense because at 18, I was in the same situation. It was like a black or white decision. So, and same in college again. So,
And what did this whole disagreement kind of teach you about politics in soccer?
well, definitely, like I just said, people think about their own interests, and it's just very disappointing because you have your whole life around soccer and this one director, one coach that he didn't just think about their own. He was like having an idea of moving, and in 2 weeks he signed for a team in Dubai. Move on, also player in the back, and like I just said, nobody think more about your own career than you. Like nobody, people are gonna want to help you, but they need to find their own interests. Can be you're even your own coach. He's gonna think about his own interest, and it's kind of what's wrong about the sport, but that's what makes it a business as well. So I, I mean, it just teach you life how it's like people think about themselves, and you have to deal with it. There is no hard feeling, and you just gotta keep moving.
Do you feel like there's ever like any way around that, or you think it's just a natural thing of life where people are gonna focus on themselves and take care of their own interests, whether it is in within soccer or within life?
No, these people are thinking about their own interest a lot, but there's also, I believe, if the director was maybe a better person, I will have not handled the situation the same way as him. But it's just like you have to be ready about maybe the expectation you have towards your coach, your family, your professor. Like if you put too high expectation into people, how much they're gonna give to you, it's how you get literally depressed and how you just regret things so much on putting your trust into people. And I was glad I was the one rejecting and saying no to something than waiting after something again and again and again and reaching out.
Yeah, like you say, I think it's taking control of the situation and not leaving it up to someone else and letting them control it, but actually taking control of it yourself and being able to direct the career where you want it to go. I know a lot of players that are listening will be interested into what life is like in an academy in France. So,
Mm.
how would you describe it in terms of your experience there?
Well, life is a dream, and you sign. I signed my contract when I was 13 years old for a 3-year contract. So you get there. So forget about where you're from, in England or in the US. The school is in the facility, and I had school maybe 1 hour and a half a day. I had practice 7 times a week, so I will practice every day. Have two practice on Tuesday. I will just practice the best player. It was all made for us to be better. And coaches are in my academy. So first of all, every weekend you will play team. People you will watch on TV this Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, it's people I used to play against, and the competition was so high. And in France, what they like to do when you're young, they always push you to play with people older and older and older until you almost like it break. So I mean, when you're in this environment, you can only grow, and people are made for you to have everything. I will sleep in a dorm, work 5 minutes, go to class, shower 5 minutes away, go to practice for 2 hours, come back, eat, take a nap, practice again, sleep, and do it again and again and again. And technically, you improve so much. Tactically, you improve so much. And that's why I think France produce so many good players because at 15, you just start having all this player factory. It just never ends.
Yeah, I think the life that you described there is pretty much the dream for any young player listening. And how did that opportunity come about for you to actually get into the academy? And what advice would you give to a young player that maybe wants to get into an academy setup like that?
So, well, first of all, academy, you have to, when you start very early, people get spotted in each area, region, in your state. You have to be the best player around and just show every weekend. Your name, people will talk. And I signed pretty early. I was 13, and just push yourself hard and try to do something very well. I signed in an academy because I think I was doing one thing very well. In my case, I was playing as a midfielder. I will be someone that will over switch the field and like to like kind of have this one thing that will just set me apart, but that can be someone that take people one on one, someone that has very good cross quality, and like have one quality that dominate over people of your age and just set you apart. Don't try to be good at three position when you're young. Master one position, get good at it, and after when you step to an academy, you're gonna have to just develop because they move you everywhere. You touch the ball every day, and the hard part is to getting in there. But I also have been in the academy. So after my first year, when we need to recruit, we need some special profile. So like I just said, we will need a big nine. We will need a midfielder that can run the whole game. So I will say focus on one quality and just master it and something that will set you apart.
It's such an interesting way of looking at it because I think that so many young players, when they look at what they want to improve, their thirst for is always, okay, what's my weakness? How can I make whatever my worst quality is into a quality that isn't so bad anymore? But you're almost saying the opposite to a player that if they have a strength, then they should continue to double down on that strength and actually make it something that really makes them stand out.
I'm that's what it worked for me, and I saw around in my academy we had player that had this one particular specificity that will just make them stand out. And I'm curious to know what you think about that because as you're young, you are gonna have weakness. It's impossible to master your 2 feet, to be good in the air and be good tactically. Like weakness are here. You just need to play more with the years and the every day. So
Yeah, I would say it's almost, do you want to go from like here to here or here to here? And what I mean by that is like if someone's really struggling to keep up with a team or a training session, I personally think that working on the weakness is probably their number one priority at that point, because if there's something that's really holding you back, let's say that your first touch is so bad that every time you're receiving it you're losing the ball, you're killing the quality of a session, then maybe it's time to really focus on that weakness to bring it up. But like you say, if you don't have one quality that really helps you to stand out, then I think it is hard to stand out. And I'd say if you are like around the middle of a training group or somewhere near the top, then having a one standout quality is probably what's going to help you get to the next level and then put you in a position where then at that point maybe you're forced to bring up your weakness.
actually, you just said it better than me because I was thinking about becoming from a good player to a great player. And like you said, if you're in a group and you feel you're catching up, maybe you're a year younger and just playing with a new team, you're just here to catch up, just like you said, focus on the small detail. And I was just thinking, and I was more mentioning about when you're from a good player to being a great player, someone that receive a good ball and give a great ball and things like that. So I totally agree with you. And you sometimes you gotta catch up some weakness before being to the
Yeah,
top. But to reach the academy, I think this level you have to be a great player and someone that adds something to the table and you need to bring it in.
I think a great exercise as well for anyone listening is not only thinking about a weakness, because I think that most people are pretty aware of what their weakness is. But if someone asks you as a player, you should really be able to name one standout quality that you have as a player. And I think that is something that, even when I reflect back on my playing career, is something that I think was holding me back. Is I was someone that wanted to be like good at everything, but I don't feel like I had something that could really make me stand out as a player. And I think that, like you say, having that is a great way to work through the levels.
Did you realize that at some point in your college career or before that? But what's the
I
one
think
thing
it's,
you made you stand
yeah,
out?
I'd say like during a recruiting call I had, someone asked me that exact question. It's what makes you stand out, and then like when I look at it as well from like a business point of view now, it's what's your unique selling point in a way, and it's can you easily name that one quality that's really going to make you stand out. And I felt like I was ready to answer other questions, but when that question came to me,
Yeah.
I felt like it really tripped me up and I was struggling with it and thinking I can't actually give a great answer to that question. And it's actually something that, funnily enough, I've been thinking about recently as well, in terms of just helping the development of younger soccer players. Is we spend so much time thinking of the negatives and what we need to improve, but having that standout quality is, when I look back, something that I don't think that I had.
It is hard. It's hard to realize it. I think it's so important, and the earlier you realize it, the better. And I didn't realize it. I was overdoing something, but it's just something that will work, and we just overdo it. And after your standout quality always change. When you get to a new group, you learn new things. There is always gonna be just play with people older, and you start playing in college. You don't need the same quality anymore. You need to stand out in other way.
Yeah, I guess whatever level and situation you're in, then that quality is going to change over time.
No, it is definitely.
When you look back at that group of players that you were with, you mentioned that a lot of players at that level are now playing at the best levels that you can. What separates an academy player that you saw that went on to play at the highest level and one that maybe didn't reach their full potential?
You will see it right away. I mean, people I will play against, I will just see it right away. We're already the top of the top, but some people just stand out at a level you can't even imagine. They're literally making people that are in academy look like kids. And I will I would just kind of know. And now I'm watching TV and I know this is just what was happening. I will see Thuram, Kefren Thuram that plays at Juventus, just like he will be in academy. He will like how you get like just scoop the ball. He will scoop the ball
Oh,
to
yeah.
people, to rainbow people, and we're here and you're playing real deal. And just a bunch of things that you see them stand out. And there's also and people that this is people that really stand out and become professional. They play Champions League, play at the highest level in national team. There is some people that made career, and I think there is no difference between player like me and them, but you just had this little chance at the moment when you had to play well. You played well, and things just like as a snowball. Okay, one step at a time. So the highest of the highest level player, you can see it right away. There is if you cannot see it, it's that you're blind. And some people make their career because they are good at the time they have to be good and they got their chance. So it is very two different level. I don't know if you played against people that are at the highest level, but it's how I saw it.
Yeah, I think something that I was aware of is almost the opposite side of that. Is there's so many players that at younger ages that I was playing with, like 13, 14, and you think, wow, like this person is going to go on and be one of the best players in the country, in the world. And they amount to nothing. And then you have other people that you never really thought of as a great player at those younger ages. And then suddenly their career takes off at 18, 19, and that's when they kind of show their talent. So it's interesting to see the two different like trajectories of a player that you can have is one that's maybe an early developer and they're always destined to make it, and then the other one is someone that's a late developer and really comes to shine at a later
May-
stage in their career.
Maybe because in England you guys start academy earlier, right? You do from 13. You start at 13. So
Yeah,
maybe
in
from
England it
13 to
goes.
15 things change a lot. And me, it's literally from 15 to 18, you are right here. You can go play pro the next year. So maybe why for me it was more shocking, and the people that were outstanding at this time, that was the time to be on top.
Yeah,
So tell me
maybe because
about England.
in England you're getting recruited to play in academies at under 8.
Okay.
So you can be in the academy from under 8, and if you go through the full pathway, then you're there until under 18s. So you got a full 10 years of progress through that club potentially. And I think maybe that's one of the shortcomings of the system is I guess a lot of that recruiting at the start is luck based in a sense that are you good at 8, 9, 10 years old, and can you hold that as you move through the age groups? And maybe there's some players that are missed by the system but then get brought in much later in that time.
Oh, it is definitely different. The system doesn't bring the same player. It's interesting to hear that. I mean, for me, I will see outstanding player and I will just be like, I cannot even compete with them. If I make it and they don't make it, that's a scam.
So do you
And I
feel like
didn't make
there's
it, so so good for them.
is there anything that you feel like you could have told your 16, 17-year-old self that you could have done differently to maybe get yourself to the position that they're in now, or you feel like the gap was too big?
I think I have I have no regrets. The way I was working when I was in academy, I will do extra session, I will work on everything, and I j- it just it's the gap was so big, and this gap was talent. There is no other explanation. I had talent, but this is just you can't even compare. And no, I've never think about it, but in academia, I will literally be just like you, Archie, but in academy, so working out, making everything for it, and I've reached my highest potential until that didn't work out for a contract reason. And to be honest, no, I have no regret. I know players that should have done more, and I think they could have reached higher potential. But in my case, I put everything on my side, so that's why I'm very proud of what I did when I was there.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because there is so many players that you can look at and say they could have gone to a higher level, they could have gone further if they're just put in the effort, if they were more disciplined. And I think that I feel a similar way in the sense of I feel like I put everything I could into my career and made the most out of the situation that I had. And it sounds like you feel a similar way in terms of you did everything that you could, you worked hard, and at a certain point, you have to accept that maybe it wasn't meant to be.
definitely. And there is external factor to your career, like timing, luck, one game, one other player. And I'm sure it was the same for you, Archie, because it is the same for everyone. And opportunities doesn't come along at the right time sometimes, but and it's all right. If you gave everything and you could have been able to take it, if it slips away, it slips away.
And you mentioned that that was almost a part in your decision to come out to the US is when you realized that maybe you couldn't play at that very highest level there.
Now, I mean, I went to I went to play under 19. I went to fourth division. So under 19, second year, it was the first year of COVID, so things got stopped. I still signed in a fourth division in another division, in another club, sorry. And I will just see the level, and it's just so hard to reach one by one. And like soccer is your life, but when you're 19, 20 years old, and I want to make a living, I want to just do better, I just realized I'm not in the most optimal path. I'm not here with professional practicing. I have people. The gap is getting bigger and bigger, and I could have wait and have a second time to get the opportunity to take this, and I just didn't take it. I thought the US was a better path for me, just for the experience and learning a language and just open more doors. And I thought I could still make it, but I just decided to go another way.
So when you came out to the US to start with, it was still with, of course, you want the experience of a different country, you want the opportunity to learn the language and get the education. But was there still a part of you that was aiming to come out here and get a pro?
I I signed to G1, but I was supposed to come to FIU in the first time, but didn't work out for credit and whatever reason because of school. And I went to Manhattan. I knew in this team, I showed that for the first week of practice, and I was just like, this is just not the standard to become professional. So I just kind of put that aside. But as a player, I improved as a player, but I think as a man, I just got much stronger, much smarter, and a better leader, and that's what made my game improve. And did we have all the environment to become pro to be and being in college? Yes, you have it, and the opportunity is even smaller than when you're in Europe. It's even harder. So I came here after I didn't know what to get. I was no idea what I was getting into. But after when you walk in some school, you walk in, you don't think you're in a professional environment because of the player around you. Probably Archie, you went to Austria. I mean, you walk into Austria, that's probably the standard of a professional level every day you practice, but I haven't had this luck. And um, I was ready for anything in this experience. I wasn't really expecting a very high level as well. So it just happened to be like that, and I was happy with it.
Yeah, I think it's a weird thing coming in from Europe, coming to play in America, because you literally have no idea the level that you're coming into. And I think for me, the only thing that I knew when I was like going through the recruiting process is there was D1, D2, D3. And I was like, when I was coming out, I want to play at the best level and I wanted to play D1. So as the offers were coming in, that's what I went with. And Hofstra was the best one that I had. But even coming into that program, I didn't even know that Hofstra was a great program. I didn't really know almost too much about it. And I was personally like pleasantly surprised with how good the level was walking into that program and how much competition there really was.
So you think it was as close as what you had in England, or it was better?
I think it's a different situation because I was in academy up until under 16, and then at that point I was playing like a lower level of semi-pro football in England. So we had guys in our like second chance college program there that have gone on to play pro in the Premier League, in the Championship, and so that team that we had and that I was training with was a really good level. But the difference between like Hofstra and the semi-pro level that I was at in England, I'd say Hofstra was a step up from that.
That's good to know. I think Austria is. I mean, I know Austria by watching, and I know some French guy that went there. I think the level was great. And college soccer too. We had a very big gap between the 11 player that had a scholarship and the rest. The gap. I mean, you could just notice, like you just said, some people will miss first touch and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people don't realize in terms of like the American setup and the system is even the gap, like you say, the gap between the first 11 and say the bottom players is massive in terms of the roster, but also the gap between a top D1 school and a bottom D1 school is absolutely massive as well. Like if I was comparing it to England, you're probably going down four to five steps of the football pyramid.
No, definitely. I mean, there is some program that are just different. They can beat academies.
So when did you first realize that like America was even an opportunity that you could take and play here?
So the luck I had when I was in academy in first year, we had this agency that was in like a partnership with the Federation of French Soccer. It was called FFF USA, and they will come every year just explain to us the project. It was the early beginning, and will just say to us. And lucky to me, I was very good in school. I skipped a grade, so I was always ahead. So I had my high school diploma ahead. I got an associate degree ahead, and always keep it in my mind like I'm very smart. I want to learn a second language because I knew I was from a very touristy place in France. So my move was I wanted to say, all right, I'm gonna move to the US, learn English, come back, and be able to work anything I want in my city because I learn English. And these people from the agency will just always reach out to me, say, all right, here's the option. When you finish your high school diploma, you can go, or do your associate degree, and that will count your credit, and you'll do less year. So for me, I was happy. I was like, I'm doing my associate degree, I'm done with it, and I can go to the US for only 2 years. And I was thinking in a way of losing money because I was making money when I was in fourth division. I was like, I'm losing 2 years of salary, but I'm gonna learn English. It's gonna be good for me. Um, that's why I didn't work out with FIU because they wanted me for 4 years, and I went to Manhattan for because they allowed me to come for only for 2 years. So it is it is a challenge. You go, you have a lot of up and down.
Yeah, I think the like even just having the opportunity within your club to be made aware of the US as an opportunity is such a nice thing to have. And I feel like I was in a similar situation at Yeovil, and we had our coaches that were speaking about like themselves going out to the US, and we had guys coming in, like you say, and giving talks to the club. And I think just having that awareness of it is a nice opportunity to even know what's possible and what opportunities are actually out there. I'm
How
interested to
early?
know.
Well, sorry, I'm sorry to cut you, but how early did you know about the US before taking the decision? I think I heard about it when I was 16, and I moved when I was 20.
Yeah, I think I heard about it first when I was 15. And in my head at that point, I kind of said to myself, if I don't get the pro contract that I want in England, then I'll probably go out to the US. And once I got to 17, then I think I like signed up to one of the agencies and got the process going. That's a different story because I had a terrible experience with them.
Yeah.
But because of that, I ended up coming out at 19. So it was
Oh,
a
okay.
couple of years to get that sorted.
Yeah, you had a lot of gap.
Yeah.
Because
How was your experience with the agency?
well, the agency I was the best in France, so they just will take player from academy, and they literally just said, all right, pass your English test as much as good as you can do it. You're gonna fail it. It's all right. We can place you in any school we want because we had such a small pool of player from French academy that wanted to move to the US at this time that literally they put me on the transfer portal after my English test, and 2 days later I got a FIU offer and signed it. And after when FIU dropped down, it was December 15. 2 days later, I had another offer from Manhattan. So I was very lucky in that sense that they were like the big school for French player. And I mean, at that time, France just won the World Cup, and everyone was just like, okay, what's the type of player you need? People that did academy, they went into the system. And I was very lucky. Sorry, Archie, for you, but it's
Yeah,
feel like
I think
dream for you to hear that.
I know. That's what I wish that I had had. But I think it's a great point in like the agency that you're with can make such a big difference because, like you said, if they're only recruiting the top players from France into that agency, then coaches know when that agency is reaching out to them that they're going to get a high quality player. Whereas I think the mistake that I made is I just went with a big agency that was well known in England that's accepting players from any level at any standard.
Yeah,
And essentially, the setup they have there is if they get you a single offer at any level, then they've done their job. So you can get an offer from a D3 school in the middle of nowhere at paying pretty much a full tuition, and in their eyes, they've done their job, and you can't say anything that they haven't done their job. So that was the situation that I found myself in.
It is unfair, and I mean, you don't really know any better. They take advantage of players. So I think on the long term, this is not going to work out because players speak up. But sorry for you, at least you ended up maybe 2 years later, but you never had a big school and in D1, so that worked
Yeah, it
out
worked
really
out
well.
well in the end. I think it's just a case of almost like making your own opportunities. Because for me, that went badly, and I just emailed schools myself, and that's what I find myself saying to young players now as well: is before you get yourself tied up in an agency that maybe is 50-50 of whether you have a good experience like you or a bad experience like me, you can explore the opportunity just by emailing yourself and seeing what coaches are responding to you.
Definitely, and now I think price of agency are just so high compared to what I paid, maybe what you paid. I mean, I paid maybe 2 grand for it, and I split out on multiple semester for my agency. I just thought it was amazing. Now people charge double, triple of that, and I don't think it's worth it because if you're a good player and you reach out and you're being accountable with your own career. I mean, coaches love that too, and it's just as good and as remarkable. You never know. Maybe a coach can scroll down his email, and he just sees your name pop up first, Archie Watts, goalkeeper England, and looks at your highlight, and it works out. So it's very hard, but don't give up and always reaching out. I mean, that's what works out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, like you say, you just get the opportunities that you can take if you do send those emails, and a coach maybe opens your one and gives you that opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
as you got into Manhattan and played your first season there, how did you find the level once the season began?
I arrived in the spring, so I had my first spring. I'll just do a spring semester. So if you're not familiar with a spring semester in college, you basically just do 4 friendly game in D1 and you practice all semester. So the level is not as high, but when you get to the season, it's super intense. You play every 3 days for 3 months. And I was surprised by the physicality of it. And I had a blast. I mean, all my season in college, I had a blast because I was dominating. I really felt the difference between other player and me. And just the intensity. You have to be ready mentally more than physically. And I really thought about how intense it was, and there is nothing in the world that can prepare you to playing every 3 days for 3 months straight, and you gotta do it to experience it. And my first season, like when you had your first season in D2, it's rough, but you just learn so much about yourself. You learn a lot about your body because you know when things are gonna go wrong. Out of my 3 seasons I played in the US, my first season I played the most minutes in my team. Out of 21 game I played, so 21 game except one because I was having a red card. No, I had five yellow. And you just learn about your body. You cannot push yourself. At some point, you practice. You don't practice. You just play. So the learning part was amazing, and I just realized so much about myself and what my body needed and what I need to perform. That was my
Was that
challenge at my first season.
was that the biggest difference that you found between France and the US? Was just that intensity of the math schedule, playing 2-3 games a week every week for 3 months straight?
There is so everything was different. So this was my biggest change was the schedule and the intensity, but everything else was different. So forget about just the style of play. There is a lot of direct play and the timer and everything, just like it's a whole different environment. Also, something that shocked me it was the way we'll prepare game. In the US, they will use a lot of scouting, a lot of video, which was amazing. I will eat that up all the time, but when you repeat it every 3 days, that just become like so hard and you have a lot going on. Something that shocked me, so the first one, the schedule, the second one, the style of play and the preparation, and lastly, just the coaching overall. I think the staff in the US, the way they coach, just like I just said earlier, like they really take players as assets. So in one game, just like you need to put cross. If you have one player that is a good lefty, even if he's he's a midfielder. I'm like, okay, you're just gonna go on the left side and cross the ball as soon as you get it, and just we really had game plan where in an academy you have this freedom of like 4-2-3-1, have fun, show quality, keep the ball, high press. That's it. Where in the US you really have a game plan and you have to execute it. If you execute and it worked, amazing. You don't execute and it worked, amazing. You don't execute and you lose, you get on the bench. And I always I was central back, so my job was always the same. But for people, I
Yeah.
will see people being benched just because they didn't want to cross the ball when they shouldn't. It was just like against your logic, you learn. Did you
So
think the same? Tell me about you.
yeah, I think the intensity, of course, is like even as a goalkeeper, I was finding myself our match schedule in Iowa. We were playing on Fridays and Sundays.
Oh wow.
So even as a goalkeeper, like I was feeling a lot of fatigue going into Sunday if I'm having to kick long like 20, 30 times on that Friday game, then it's difficult. And I think that obviously it's a challenge for players to manage themselves and the intensity and trying to stay fit through such a short season, but it's also such a challenge for coaches as well because you've got to find the balance between the long-term progression through the season of when do you want your team to peak and also making sure that you're actually staying prepared and healthy for games to games. So it's definitely a whole different style of challenges. And yeah, I'd say the biggest one for me was just even being surprised at me having to take care of my body better.
Yeah. Yeah, even you and as well, you are very healthy and you have very good routine. And some things I would like to mention to anyone listening, like can be in college or in any type of career on or season. The team that starts the season, it's never gonna be the same team that ends the season. And I think the difference between good and very good and great team, like you have to know and understand that. And people in college soccer, everybody has to be ready. And you never know what tomorrow is made of. Like playing every 3 days, super intense, people change and like you said, coaching and staff needs to be aware of that and but players too. That's what make a team win championship.
Yeah, there's such a insane amount of rotation that goes on within a team. And I mean, like you say, it's almost never the same team that even plays two games in a row.
Yeah,
There's so much rotation, there's so much opportunity. And I guess a good question here is you were obviously captain at Manhattan. You came into New Haven and became captain here too. How would you say you used your experience in your first couple of seasons to help players understand that?
how will I be a leader and help people like get my
Yeah,
status
like
with
as a leader, how do you keep the whole group together when, of course, you start the season? Some players are gonna get their head down that they're not getting minutes. Other players are gonna feel on top of the world, but then feel like they're at the bottom of the world as they go through the season and get less minutes. How do you, as a captain, help to manage those emotions within a group?
well, just being captain, being leader, like it's some things just I had that when since I was a kid and in college soccer, even though my first year I couldn't speak English, so they couldn't put me as captain, but when I was able to speak to people on the second year, I think what made it I was able to keep people together just by being honest and keep people accountable. So even coaches, players, myself, like that's what there is a lot of different type of captain and example in a team. You can have people leading by just being the best player, people by example, people by being leader. I will keep people accountable. So myself, player, coach, if something was going wrong, speaking up like it's all right. Everybody wants the same. You're all here. When the clock starts in 90 minutes, you want to win the game. So I will think making sure nobody was bigger than the team and speaking up. I know like in any environment I went when I was at Manhattan, I will challenge player that think they are better than the team. I will challenge the coaches. I came to New Haven. I will just like if I will see something wrong, you speak up and you just don't let it happen because small behavior or like I think small toxic behavior that's what kills the team over time and you don't have any time to lose for small bullshit and also there is like you said player that can give out and let things aside. It's personal and try to make things positive. the good thing we had in New Haven. Like every practice, we will try to enjoy, have fun, and people that will not play, they will bring the energy. Being on the bench, bringing the energy, it's very hard to keep up. But like we just said earlier, you have to understand your role, and it's hard. And mostly try to keep things positive. That's what makes a difference.
And is that ability that you have to almost find those smaller problems and speak up about them straight away? Do you feel like that's something that you've learned over time by seeing those little things build up, or is it something that you've always had as a player?
No, I had it when I. That's what I think my experience in fourth division helped me a lot because this year I didn't really play much because COVID and people were just better than me. And it's the year I was 18 and I ended up playing in the team as someone that was coaching me when I was a kid. And he was the captain of the team. And he was 35. And if something was wrong, he will just speak up. And just that's what makes the team better. The team was second of the league and it was just amazing. And I just realized that if you see something that is wrong and you're not speaking up, you're just as guilty as doing it. And I just stop accepting that, especially in soccer, because everybody thinks you always see the same thing. Someone that a kid that doesn't go get the ball when it's running out, that's wrong. Someone that comes to practice is late, doesn't say I'm sorry, that's wrong. You don't say hi when you see someone from your team, that's wrong. And you don't have to be very like like a coach when you say things, but like mentioning it, smiling and making sure everything goes smoothly. And it came with time and by seeing and the experience, that's what brings. So that's why older player in college helps so much because you're with kids and you just teach so much because that's what soccer teach you before.
Yeah, I guess it's almost that passing on of things through the generations of, like you say, you're learning from an older player at your club in France and you take what works there and you help to pass that on to the next generation of players. And you also probably saw things that didn't work so well and you take that in and want to correct it. What would you say
Definitely.
to someone that would think that picking on these smaller things is like nitpicking and being too picky and is too much? What would you say to someone that pushed back on that?
Well, I guess you have everybody has different sense of what's right and what's wrong, but some small detail like being polite, showing up on time, being respectful. Somebody said something to you like don't bitch about it, just do it. Like we're here for the same thing. And I think if when you're in college and you try to just push these things away and being negative, you're almost just shooting yourself a bullet in the feet. It's a French expression, but like you're just killing yourself because you're here, you're part of a team, you're creating an environment for only 3 months. So if for 3 months in the year you cannot do that, you're not helping the team. And like I think just like you said with the coaching staff, they put player on the field that are gonna make them win. If you're not part of this energy and this whole team, you're not bringing anything. So you're just gonna push yourself out of the team and not help your teammate. And there's always gonna be people negative. There is some that you're gonna have to deal with them differently. And some people you can. I mean, I know in New Haven we have a lot of Italian. I could just scream at Italians and make it funny, but some people they will take it offensive. So you have to pick and choose how you talk to people, but you always have to speak up about it because that's what it's a group alive.
Yeah, I think you see so many times where, like you say, if you let those little things go undone, it's almost becomes harder and harder to say anything if you don't say something in the first place because you're setting a standard in terms of if, like you say, someone doesn't get a ball on that first session and you don't do anything about it, then now you've almost lost that opportunity to say it again. And every time that you let that one thing go, then it becomes harder and harder to correct it because now the person has a chance to turn back and say, well, it wasn't a problem on day 5 of preseason. Why is it a problem now a month into preseason?
Definitely. And the thing, like, I mean, in a team, you're gonna have multiple leader, but the group of player is the standard has to come from the player. If it come from the coaches, if it come from your dad that makes you be here because he wants you to be pro, like it's not gonna work. It has you have to create as a group the standard and put everybody in the same place. Usually when you go play for a club, everybody on the field, you guys have maybe not the same expectation about soccer, but you're here for the same thing, having fun, do things better. So hold each other accountable. It's hard. It's not easy to speak up. Sometimes people that are your friends, I will get in fight with my friends because will not respect the friends, but we all know what's happened on the field has no effect outside of the field, or if you take it personal, that's not a good friend. And you always have great leaders around you. Just because these leaders, people love to speak up. Some young kids love to just see how you do it and do the same. I mean, Archie, you were just amazing. I know how you did. So year after it was a rough your concussion, but you're a great leader, and the standard come from you as a player, and you have to put that through the group. Don't expect the coach, don't expect anything else to come.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was interesting for me of like coming from like playing in Iowa where I felt like I was like right at the top of the group in terms of like a level of playing. I almost felt like it's much easier to lead a group from that position. And I feel like that was something that I felt was difficult going into the situation at New Haven, where maybe I'm more towards the middle of the group. Even having those like leadership qualities, it then almost feels as a player harder to put them across, if that makes sense.
I see how you feel, and you have to earn the respect also by playing. And I think in your case, you just maybe the first two games you didn't play the first one or you played the second one, but when you start adding the game up, just like you earn the respect and you earn this leadership. And of course, being a leader comes with responsibility. You cannot keep people accountable if you don't hold yourself at a higher standard. Like, and just you have to be the first person to criticize yourself if one day you do a mistake. I mean, I've done mistake in my life. I will just say, all right, my guys, it's my bad. I take it. Can we make it up for me? Can we go over it? I will make it up for you. And it's true that you earn that by playing and over the training and just like showing the standards.
Awesome. So we are going to get into our Q&A section from the school group, and we got a couple from Instagram as well now. So these are just group questions that people have thrown in. So don't have to be any crazy long answers, but just
Uh,
answer them the best you can.
it sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So first question we had was, how would you go pro through the college route?
How will go pro? Let's say you start as a freshman. I will do 2 year in one school or 1 year and transfer right away to a bigger school. If it's not a bigger school, a bigger uh, conference, a conference where you think you can make NCAA playoff. And who knows, you can be one season away of scoring 15 goals out of 15 games. And from there, maybe you don't get drafted, but you can go to USL. And I think that would be the best path. Transfer to a big school and play your games. If you're already in a big school and you're not playing, go to another big school or try to get a grad year to get this one season that make you stand out.
So you just find one season that really makes you stand out and then go from there.
Yeah, I will say set yourself up for this one season and have being in this big school when you're in junior, senior, or grad year and make it work. Being in either the school or a conference that count. And we all know what are the big conference that draft player just take what player are drafted where they come from and make it work. But 95% of the player come from big school, big conference. So aim for that first, and from there, go for it.
Next question we had was, what level do you actually need to reach before coming to the US?
Before coming to the US, I would say if you wanna go to D1, be someone in under 19, like a regional level, not an academy level, maybe right under. You will reach D1 if you have good highlight and if you're motivated to reach out and follow up. And the rest, any level under that, you can reach out D2, D3, and just depends always about your situation. If you need money from the school, you're gonna need to do more reach out and find the right program and be picky. But if you're open for one location, just you reach out. And if you're serious about soccer and you create a good highlight tape and you do a good English test, there is no reason to don't find the school. It will be harder to don't find the school than anything else because you're serious, you're prepared. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think like you say, it's not the first school that you go into. I don't think is the most important because of now having the transfer portal and being able to progress. If you say you accept an offer at a lesser level school and you have a great season there, in my opinion, I think it's pretty easy to almost transfer anywhere from one great season.
Oh, it is definitely. The hardest part when you're from Europe, it's making good highlight tape because you have no recording of yourself. So focus on that, get to one school and get to transfer. There is player that even start in a junior college for 1 year and end up at Clemson, and now we play in first division in Europe now.
Yeah. All right. Next question we had. So we've almost answered this a little bit already. So we're going to say you can't say about having that one quality that makes you stand out.
Yeah.
But other than having one quality that makes you stand out, what else could you do to stand out to college coaches?
I think showing that you know the system and the process and being mature. So things take time when you're in the transfer portal, coach or busy, and just follow the process and show that you're aware of things. Maybe you reach out to a coach, you have a call, be prepared. Uh, know what are the school program if you're in business major, what you can do, and almost do the work for them. But just that you just show how you're prepared for it and you know where you're heading. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But don't expect them to do a lot of things for you. And preparation is big. I don't know what you will say except of that.
No, I definitely agree. Having just being prepared and knowing who you're speaking to, I think it comes from the start as well. If you're reaching out and emailing coaches, then just add a little detail of something about the school, something about the program. How long has that coach been with the program? You need to add just a little detail to stand out. And then when you're speaking to the coach, show that you can answer basic questions and that you know about that school. Like if you start speaking to the coach and you don't even know what conference the school plays in or how their season went last year, I just think it's small details that are important in a conversation.
Definitely. Speak with coaches about them, about if they have a summer team, talk to them about their summer team and their last year season. I mean, most likely they are gonna know about you, about your highlight, but make it about them as well.
Great advice. Next one. You've done a pretty good job of answering these. What
Mm.
is the biggest shock European players face in US college soccer?
Well, biggest shock can be language. I will not speak the language, so that's for non-English speaker. And the second shock, I would say, is the lifestyle, because there is no other things like lifestyle in college when you have the studies and the soccer at the same time and the facilities. My facilities at Manhattan College and in New Haven was better than my academy when we were in second division in France overall. And that thing that I will say with the shock is the facilities and the environment.
How hard was it for you to learn the language when you came out here?
When I came out here, I couldn't speak with my teammate and my coach, and I think it took me my first 3 months. I was not speaking at all, and I came back in the fall. I had like a decent English, and I was very lucky to come in the spring. So if you are someone that is kind of scared about the environment, maybe moving to the US in the spring season is way better to just get used to everything and the school system and just like know things around, because things doesn't stop when you're in season. You have midterm, you have class, and you have soccer, you have to go to the gym. It's
Yeah,
my
definitely.
English. You're very lucky to talk to me now. I couldn't speak anything. My coach will tell me something, I will just be like, all right, and I will just figure it out.
Yeah, you've done well to learn it so quickly. And I think that point as well about coming in the spring is such a good one because I don't think many players realize before coming out here that you do have the opportunity to come in and start school in the spring and you don't have to wait to come out until the summer and play in the fall.
Yeah, spring will be the best advice to someone that wants to come. You're stress less of your first season, and you're saving a year of eligibility by coming
Yeah.
in the spring. And that would be a great move. I will advise that as well. And you
All right, then.
also, I'm coming back. If you come in the spring, you graduate in the fall. So if you get drafted, you go to the club right away. You don't have to go to school anymore.
There you go. And then the final question here was if you had to rebuild yourself at 18 for US college soccer, what would you focus on first? Speed, strength, mentality, or exposure?
Uh, One detail I will work on more, I will say jump and speed. And you say a lot of things about genetic, how you have to reach your potential towards your genetic, etc. I think I've never legit always just assumed I was a player that wasn't that fast, and I had a good jump. But I think if I would improve one thing in my preseason before coming to the US, it would be just my jumping abilities, because you were gonna I had a lot of jump in the air, and you come to the US, you play against big boys, and that will be the one thing I will focus on, because in Europe I will have what, two jump in the air every game, and that's it. I will put it down. When in the US I will had game when I had like 25, 30 headers, which was a nightmare against team that just play long like English style.
Yeah, it's a different style.
It is different. I was not ready for that, Archie.
There we go. All right, awesome. So, I mean, I appreciate having you on today and sharing so much advice from being able to obviously play an academy in France, making that transition to playing in the US, and sharing a little bit about how you helped lead colleges while you were here. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end today?
Well, thank you, Archie, for having me. And I want to say, like, if there is any people that are listening, if you're on the group, you're already being proactive. You did the step one, like you're looking forward to something. So if you need any help and I can help you and just advise, just please reach out. Like, we are more than happy to share knowledge, and there is no reason to keep it when you can help someone else out there. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it so much, Archie.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you on here today. And for anyone that's listened to this point, then thank you for being here. And if you haven't already, then make sure you join the school group, and we'll see you next time.